Welcome everyone to a Fake Nerds Watch special on the Umbrella Academy. Last time we left our friends the Umbrella Academy, they were just getting out of the hazy shade of winter of 2019, but unfortunately they ended up in 1963, right back where they started. These renegades have no idea what the heck is going on, but they say hello to a few Swedes, and also some of them have to say bibby bobbity boo for some freaking reason, and let's just say crazy shit goes down. It goes down hard. And then we see the bad guys, the commission, trying to mess things up because that's what the commission do, I guess. But holy crap, guys, this season was really, really McFrickin' good. I'm Ben Magnet. That's Brandon T. McClure. That's Ryan Eliopoulos. And, of course, Sparkz Witty.
It sounded like you said it's McFrickin' good. Like, is this on the McDonald's menu?
Yeah, I did say it's McFrickin' good.
It's true. Freaking good.
It is.
Not to spoil it for everyone else, Ben, but I agree with you. I thought this season was much better than the first. I like that first season, but
I like the first season too.
All the characters got upgrades in terms of like characterizations and like importance and depth and motivation. Like I knew what every character was doing. I liked all the characters this season, which I can't really say for the last season. I thought the setting was great. I just had a baller of a time. I love this. I love the season. So much fun.
Really, really weird because when I was watching season 1, I stopped halfway through and then I just never picked up. It's not that I didn't like it. It's just that, other stuff is like, hey, something shiny. I'm going to go over here. And
lots of entertainment, yeah.
Yeah, lots of entertainment choices. But then I kept thinking, I got to go back to Umbrella Academy. I got to go back to Umbrella Academy. The trailer for season 2 pops up. I just got to go back. And then I finally watched season 1, finished it. It's still really good. I really had a good time, especially with Klaus and David, because if I just skipped that, I would have had no idea what the frack is going on. But season 2, just ever since the first scene of season 2, from then on, I was hooked. I wanted to watch it. I was like, no, I need to finish watching Umbrella Academy.
I think we should mention that the last time we talked about Umbrella Academy was on our main show. We only talked about the first episode, I think, in regards to the first volume.
First 2, maybe? I don't remember.
And we didn't touch it after that. So we all watched season 1 on our own time and then decided to do season 2 for this series. Mm-hmm. I think I liked both equally. I love season 1 and I love this season.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they're both really good.
I was thinking much the same as Ryan because looking back on it, I find the road for Vanya's arc in the first season exhausting. It's a little too long of waiting for the guy to be revealed to be bad, for it to get where it's like this is tiring.
Also,
long.
I didn't rewatch the entire season, but I did do like refreshers and like watch some videos about it. And I forgot just how much of assholes that entire team is to their sister, to Vanya. Especially Luther. Luther is incomprehensible in that first season. And like, I don't care how charming he is, that dude's an asshole. This season like rectified it like hard. That Luther is like now maybe one of the best.
Yeah, I would lock her up in a soundproof room, essentially a dungeon for a little bit. And because she's the end of the world, and we don't want the end of the world.
I
get it.
So like what it was is like what makes season 2 stand out to me as stronger is that when I was going to each character arc, I didn't feel like I knew exactly what was going to be happening, where they were going, what was going to happen with them. And when I think back on season 1, towards the second half of the season, you more or less know where everyone's going, especially Vanya. And so what I mean by exhausting is like every time you go back to her, you're like, I know exactly what path we're on, and I'm just waiting for us to get there. Yeah. And that feels a little draggy. But this season, I was really glad that Vanya specifically had something where when we went back to her, I was pleased to be with Vanya. Because it was frustrating to be like, I don't care until this actually happens. With what was happening in her in season 1. Obviously, that changed in season 1. Spoilers for both seasons, by the way.
Yes.
But that changed.
This is a review show.
That changed in season 1 when she sliced her sister's throat. That's when her arc got interesting. But prior to that point, it wasn't surprising. It was just paint by the numbers in a sense. I think those aspects of the first season felt like they were trapped in what other shows have done before. Whereas this season didn't feel like it was constrained by any kind of like tropes that exists in other shows. It was doing something entirely in its own realm. Not to say that season 1 didn't have that, just not all of season 1 had that, but all of this season did.
I think every character had a great story. Like every character, I enjoyed watching them because like when you break up the team as you do in these kind of stories, you can either focus on one too much or focus on one too little. I thought every character got their dues. especially like Ben. Like talk about like
Oh god, yeah.
not being in season 1 and then like being the savior of season 2. Like man, I loved every character's journey. The stuff with Vanya was so sweet and like just felt like so real. And like it's so nice to see something like that just pop up. And stuff with Rumor, man, all that stuff, like especially what's going on now. Like we're watching Lovecraft Country and like this. I just think the second season improves on almost everything, to be honest. Like, and again, that's first season's not bad.
Yeah.
It's just like, man, these guys know what they're doing now.
Yeah, go ahead.
I love Vanya in this season. She's my standout. Her arc is really great. One of the things that I love about it is that they finally stopped treating her like the enemy. And like that's the thing about the first season that I still like the first season, and while it is frustrating, it is the point of the first season that they are assholes to her. They are supposed to be shit to her, and that's what leads her on that path. And then to kind of see like, oh, we were wrong. We should have always been treating her like part of the family. And you get the idea that even in the beginning of the first episode, when we see the destruction that's caused by these characters in 1963, this new doomsday that they bring with them. Every single one of them, even if your power is benign, like Klaus or Rumors, it's still a destructive power. It can still destroy the world on its own.
Yeah, Klaus pulled a Return of the King and had a ghost army with him.
Yeah.
He did.
So, and I think that shows that while Vanya in the first season was shown to have a very destructive power, if she had learned to control it, it would have been just as benign as the others.
Yeah,
because they learned to control their powers.
Was it, man? I don't know if it was an interview or if it was in the show specifically, because it's been a while since I watched it. But somebody said like all of these people's powers, like no, they haven't even scratched the surface of what they can really do. Mm-hmm. Like imagine if Rumor had like a microphone to the world, like that kind of stuff. Where I'm like, oh man, like they are downplaying like some of these powers, which is cool because like the things they can do eventually. Like I'm curious, like if they go worldwide and get crazy. Like man, Klaus, I can't even imagine
power. Rumor's power is the one that shocked me when she said, "I heard a rumor, I blew your mind," and their heads explode.
Yeah.
Holy shit,
that's awesome.
I do want to right up front, just say my like big detractor about season 2. The one thing that like, if I could change it, I would. I wish that this maybe was a little different. Is I'm just sad that Hazel's killed right at the beginning. That's my detractor. Love Hazel.
It makes him important to the story.
It is important.
It sucks.
I wish there had been some way to see Hazel before he's killed again, just to get more Hazel action.
Was Hazel in? Oh, Hazel wasn't in the flashback. That's 5. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I get why he's in it. There's too many characters, but like
I totally do too. It's just my detractor because Hazel's great.
Him and his lady.
He pops up, tells Fives like, "Yo, this is the end of the world." Like when he sees all the Soviets run by and the nukes fly in, and then he's talking about him and Agnes had 20 years together. I'm like,
the reason why I want more Hazel, like Sparkz, is that only scene that he has in the season is one of the best scenes in the season.
Yeah. And it's in the first 20 minutes.
He is so good in that scene when he brings it back. He's like, "Oh yeah, me and Agnes had some good times together, and she passed and blah blah blah." And I'm just like, man, you're selling this. This is so good.
You lived a whole life.
More than anything, I think what frustrated me about it is I just feel like while the moment is nice and the scene is nice, and I understand the impetus of the action, Hazel's actual like murder, him being shot, is done passively in an almost cavalier way, and I'm like, Hazel deserved to go up there. That's so whatever. Anyway, that's my only like. Everything else I really like. We should be like specific. I think one of the best parts of the setup is we've been saying they're back in 1963, but that's not totally accurate. They land at different points in time.
Yes.
Leading up to 1963. And I thought that was brilliant. Having them land at different points in the same area and have adjusted to life there. Some of them for longer than others was a really good idea.
Some got dropped like days apart, some years apart. So it's a slow build to getting the team back together because some people aren't even there yet. That's such a fascinating concept. I thought that was so much fun.
And the way that they show it, because it's the opening of the season, is really good.
Yeah.
Now my major detractor for the season is Diego.
Oh, really?
Diego's whole "I gotta save the president." After a while, I was like, dude, Get it into your head. You cannot do that.
I'll say that there's a point where they confront his dad, and his dad calls him out for like his hero complex, essentially.
Yeah.
And I thought after that, the president stuff should have shifted.
I agree, but it doesn't.
But it doesn't, and I'll agree with you that I do think that's also a little bit of a flaw, specifically because like we meet Diego like on this crazed mission, like I need to save Kennedy, and he never really escapes that notion, and then just gets upset that he fails.
Yeah.
And I wish that there was that was the button of that arc was handled differently.
Yeah.
I guess I can't disagree. I really like, because that dude's supposed to be like the Batman, but like he kind of sucks as a person. He's good at being Batman or whatever. But like I guess I didn't mind it so much because he was so tied to. I always forget him. It's not Lily, right? What's the lady's name?
Layla or Lila?
Lila.
Lila.
The stuff with Lila, I found so charming and so great, and like she pushes him to be a better person while also like betraying him at the same time. So like I guess I can't agree with you. He doesn't have much of a character change, but that dude is so stuck on trying to be a hero that it ruins him. And I guess I can appreciate that a little bit, because that's a dude who he just wants to be a good guy so bad, and he's not good at it.
I might also agree that maybe Diego is one of the big detractors from season 2. But like, don't get me wrong, I loved his stuff, but there was one point I remember watching, I think later on in the season, like definitely past the halfway point, when Diego mentions like I need to save JFK. It's like, oh my god, dude, you're still on about that? Because
doesn't he think that's why the world's gonna end? So
yeah, no. So that's the thing, is that like it's the fallout of that's I don't hate the Diego arc. I don't even hate like him being all about saving Kennedy. What I hate is the way that it plays out in the very moment of trying to save Kennedy. Okay. Because what he does is first he realizes it's Vanya that sets off the nuclear war.
Yeah.
So he goes to save Vanya. And then from the window of that building, he realizes there's still time he might be able to save Kennedy. But he's convinced, without a ton of evidence other than a photo, that his dad is responsible for Kennedy's assassination.
Yeah.
Which that part is a little weird, and I don't know that it serves any clear, strong purpose of motivating either character, because what ends up happening is Diego's dad leaves the other stand-in guy who drives the car in his spot, like it's a gag on Diego.
Yes.
While also being mad that the guys assassinated Kennedy.
Yes.
In a later scene. And I'm like, why you got to do a gotcha on your son for no...
Well, he's a jerk.
Yes, but he's not... But like, what sucks is that there is no catharsis to that. There's no encapsulation of Diego's recognition of what's happening. He continues to think that his dad wasn't like played him even in the Kennedy assassination, and thus rather than it just being like you were on the wrong path the whole time, like you were wrong-headed about how to go about this the whole time, which would have been a lesson about how he goes into things, and he doesn't get that, and that's why that whole thing feels a little messy in its execution.
I can agree with that. Sure. Yeah. I think young Papa Hargreaves rules.
Me too.
He is so mean to his non-existing kids yet. Like that scene where he meets up with them and he's like, "All right, let's talk about this shit. What do you want to know?" And he just he's mean. He's mean to Diego and he's mean to everyone. He's like, "All right, this was a waste of my time. I'm leaving." I thought that was awesome. Clearly, this guy's a genius, and he can't even like, maybe this is all true. He's like, this is stupid. Y'all are stupid. I think that actor is so good at being an asshole. He's so good at it. He just looks so like me. I just love the look of him.
But his moment with Five, is so good when he has a drink with Five, and he's like, I think that's a really great moment. Like, yeah, he is very mean, but also that kind of respect that he has towards Five is really kind of earned. And it's the first time that Five sees him in like 40 years.
Yes.
I think that whole moment around the table is really interesting. I feel like it's something I'm going to want to go back and look at before the next season starts, because theoretically, he's basing whatever he's going into the third season off of that meeting.
The Sparrow.
When he meets them again, because it should be the same Hargreaves from that time that they've now changed.
That's true.
So that's going to be an interesting progression to see. I really like a lot of the interactions that happen there, specifically Luther just being like, "Look what you did to me." Yeah, I really liked the inclusion of a lot of the young Hargreaves stuff. This isn't really like it's bad. It's very touching. It just felt out of place. The Pogo flashback, which we talked about, it's at the beginning of an episode, but it doesn't really mean anything.
I think it's
to the larger story. It's just nice to show. But we talked about like that should have been the opening of the episode where we met Pogo and him at the end.
Yeah. It seems out of place.
But they show it like 2 episodes later as the opening of an episode, and then we don't see Pogo again.
I just think that's just for the audience to tell you that you get to see Pogo again.
Right, yeah. That's what it felt like. And I'm like, it's a really sweet moment. It just feels like it's in the wrong place of the scene.
It would have been nice to have seen that like when it actually matters, instead of just like, oh, well, Pogo's here, that's cool. Yeah. Like there's no story relevance for him showing up there. Although it is cute to see a little Pogo.
The one argument you could make is that it strengthens the relationship history of Hargreaves and Grace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we still could have got that though.
Yeah, like pre-robot Grace, like human Grace. It was really cool to see.
Southern Grace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, again, like, I think the whole thing is beautiful. I wouldn't change that opening at all. I just would have put it in a different spot in the season because the rest of the episode has nothing at all to do with it. I don't even think we see Hargreaves again in that episode, if I recall correctly.
I couldn't tell you.
So I read after I finished the second season, I went and read the second volume of Umbrella Academy.
Sure.
It's still set in Dallas towards the end of the book, but outside of that, it is completely different.
Yeah.
That second volume, there is time travel involved in the last 2 issues, but mostly it is just dealing with the fallout of the end of Volume 1, which again, like we talked about, Volume 1 ends very differently.
Right. Volume 1 is constructed pretty differently too from that first season. Like, I'm sure the second volume and the second season are even further apart, but like this is a show that is inspired by its comics, but not adapting its comics.
Yeah. I think that's really cool. But one of the things that I was curious about is in the first volume of the graphic novel, we find out that Hargreaves is an alien.
Right.
I was not sure if we were going to do that in this show.
I love the long wait so much. It's so
I completely forgot that Hargreaves was an alien because when we get to that scene with us, like the Majestic 12 or what? Yeah, the Majestic 12, right? That's what they're called.
It's been a while then.
Yeah, but that dude, like the secret society or the shadow government or whatever, and then they're like, well, and he's like, because Hargreaves is pissed that they killed Kenny because he's like, hey, you guys weren't supposed to kill him. He was a good dude.
That's also a great character moment because even though Hargreaves is like a bad dude, he does have some morals. And I love that the family was questioning him the whole time. And he's like, I'm not gonna do it. If you think I'm gonna do it, whatever. Like just whatever. And he ends up not doing it. I think that's a really dope moment.
I agree.
He takes off the mask and you see the creepy alien stuff. I'm like, hold on, what?
I love it.
Megan, who hasn't read the comics, like Ryan and I are sitting there like, oh man, they're going for it. And she's like, going for what? Oh my God, he's an alien?
Yeah. So for the people who haven't read the comic, in like the first page of that comic, it reveals that Hargreaves is an alien here to he wants to help save the world.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's like moment 1 of that comic, right? And the fact that they wait till the end of the season 2 to explain that is like, that's so cool because it's not really important, honestly.
Right.
But like, that just adds a little wrinkle.
He's an alien.
Yeah.
I thought they were just going to do away with it altogether.
So did I. Yeah.
And then to see like the reveal, I was like, oh shit, they're doing it.
And we read Volume 1 and you've read Volume 2. There's no alien stuff, right? No. So I'm curious if that's just like long game stuff for the comic or it's just a fun wrinkle that doesn't really matter.
Right.
Either way, I think it's great.
The other thing is that the third volume of Umbrella Academy is called Hotel Oblivion. The fourth volume, which isn't out yet, is called Sparrow Academy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's also really interesting that they decided to end this season with a Sparrow Academy tease, considering that volume isn't out yet.
There was a discussion with the author of the comics about this when the new season came out. Yeah. And it was the comics are going to start taking some cues from the show too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to now start going both ways.
It's fun because much like the Doom Patrol show, which Gerard Way is a part of that comic. These shows seem to have inspired him to come back to the comics in a way, and now they're working in simpatico almost in a way, which is really cool because more comics is always a great thing, and we're getting comic book shows based on them. It's a nice little world. Yeah.
When they were making this season, they could not have known how important, like really pivotal of the moment, all the stuff with Allison was going to be.
Yeah.
Specifically with the racism and the cops beating black people. Oh man, way to like land in the moment 100%.
Yeah. And again,
you could make an argument that moment is just always happening, but it's just really, really loud right now.
Yes. Again, like all the character stuff is so good for all these characters. The stuff with Allison, like she comes from a world where she's a celebrity. She gets everything she wants. Everyone loves her. And now she's transported back to a time where her skin color is not the same as it is in like 2019. Like she's viewed differently as a person in 60 years ago. And she's not using her powers.
Right.
Because she's a completely different character than that. All of these characters are completely different than their first season characters. And I love that so much. They all grow.
Yeah. That she has to spend the first few months there adjusting, and she can't, for all intents and purposes of how she's lived her life, defend herself.
Yeah. And
has to adjust into the situation of the time period is like double on her. And I thought that was a really cool thing.
And her husband, Raymond Chestnut, what a sweet man. Man, that dude's just fighting for his rights, man.
I loved Raymond the entire time.
I also really liked Klaus.
Oh.
Yeah.
When Klaus he's a cult leader, but when he knows it, he knows he's a cult leader. But whenever he meets Raymond, and he's like, "Oh my God, you're my brother-in-law," and Raymond's like, "What?"
Man, poor Raymond, because like all these white dudes just keep showing up to his house, and he's just like, "Can you please explain to me what's going on?" She's like, I can't.
Why do you have white brothers?
He shows up. He's like, "So yeah, this dude Klaus bailed me out of jail, and also I met the biggest white boy I've ever seen in my life, who says he's also your brother. Who are you?"
Raymond has a lot of patience. I give him credit, especially after he sees Allison use powers on a cop, and she's like, "Oh, I just told him to please stop," and he's like, "Girl, I know that's a lie. Look, it's 1963. Give me a break."
Right, because the first thing he assumes is that she's in on something.
Yeah,
like spying on them.
Yeah. That's that. All that stuff with Raymond is so sad because, like, how do you explain that you can control people's minds? Like, especially in a time where like that power.
She has to explain the whole thing, like time travel and everything to him, and he just gets on board eventually.
Yeah, Raymond's a cool dude. But
I just love when when they pop up in the kitchen, and because after Allison tells him everything, he looks at her and goes, "We had a black president? We're gonna get a black president? Really?" She's like, "Yeah, but it's not gonna be until like 2008. He's like, "But it happens?" She's like, "Yeah, it happens." He's like, "Yay!" Like just the joy in his face is so real, and I love it.
Yeah.
I also kind of wonder, like, what were the series of events that led to them meeting up originally before 5 shows up? Because where we meet them 10 days before, they're still using their powers as we've known them. And something happens in that 10 days where they figure out they can do a lot more shit with their powers that we don't see anymore because 5 introduced.
My assumption would just be that we know that Vanya would have been the thing that caused it. So them capturing Vanya and her setting it off alerts the others to the fact that Vanya is there. So they kind of all centralize to her and then start working with her because they're in the middle of a war now.
Yeah. And now that JFK declared war on the Soviets and the Soviets declared war back, they're all like, we got to do our best to defend our home. So
but I mean, what series of events led Klaus to realize that he can send a ghost military?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
not just Ben.
Probably like actually being invaded. They're probably in survival mode for a few days. So at that point, they're just doing everything they can with their powers.
Yeah.
It's a great opening. I did like that. I did like the way that all that ties in together. I didn't love just the simple idea of it's Vanya again. I got over it, but I'm like, it couldn't be anything else.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think all the stuff with Vanya is great, and like that final scene is great. But like Vanya is the bad guy again against her will again.
I am glad that it's not her losing control.
Yes.
It's her being tortured.
Yes,
I'm glad that that's what it was, because I'm like, this is something where everyone can agree this isn't her fault.
Yes.
Like, we don't have to get back on the bandwagon of Vanya's dangerous, Vanya could blah, blah, blah. She was under duress.
Yeah.
I'm glad that that's at least part of it, but it did feel a little like, you know, whenever one of the siblings is like, yeah, Vanya is always ending the world. And it's like, do we have to
Are you sure? No, actually, one of the things about Vanya's story arc in this whole show that I really liked is how they did the amnesia trope. It's essentially they Back to the Future to her before Back to the Future was a thing.
And man, let me tell you, I hate amnesia tropes.
I hate it too. No, I hate amnesia tropes too, but this time they did it actually pretty damn well. And I agree. I can't hate them for it because I love when
it's because you know what it is for me. It's because they allow it as a backdrop for a love story between Vanya and whatever her name is, Sissy. That added a whole other level to the amnesia trope that made you kind of forget that what you're following is an amnesia trope and what you're actually following is a love story.
And one of the other things I want to get off my chest before Ryan is that I also love how Vanya does meet up with the rest of the Umbrella Academy in the middle of the show, and it's not like, oh, they find her at the end. Because I feel like a lot of times when they do decide to do the amnesia trope is that what the big reveal is like, oh, so-and-so is alive, and they finally get together at the very end of the show. And it's like, damn, you could have done so much. Instead, Vanya is like with them in the middle. She's still talking with them. And that scene with her, Allison, and Klaus at the hair salon.
That's a great scene.
Yeah, what they're talking about, and she's like, oh, she's like, oh, this is the better than last person she did. You know, the serial killer. And she's like, what?
Well, also one of the things that I enjoy is that when she meets them, she's happy that she has brothers and sisters.
Yeah. That's why I want to spotlight. It's very early in the season that we get the interaction, and it could not have gone the way it did and be as good as it was if she didn't have the amnesia between her and Luther, which is probably one of my favorite scenes in the whole season. Is Luther apologizing because he knows he handled it wrong.
Yes.
And he's like, if you're pretending, I don't even care. I'm sorry. I wasn't there for you.
And again, that's why the amnesia thing works so well for me, because one, it allows the family to be super real with her in a way. Like, they see that she is so far gone, like, oh my God, Vanya, I'm so sorry this happened. Like, the entire family is there to help her this season. No one's mean to her. It's all about support. And I love that so much, because if it was going to be another season of that, I'd have been like, oh, this family just really sucks.
Except
for story reasons.
Except when Diego finds out that it is Vanya's fault, when he's with Control, he does decide to go kill her.
Yeah.
But he's convinced out of it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Right. Because the whole thing is that, like, Diego thinks it's her doing the same thing she did in season 1.
Yeah.
But once he's there, he knows it's not. Yeah. So that I can accept that. You know, like, I can accept Diego's impulse being, oh shit, it's season 1 again. Someone has to stop her. She's gonna make everything terrible. But realizing, oh no, Vanya's in trouble, he lets go of that idea fast enough that I'm not bothered by it.
Back with Vanya real quick. Again, like this, because she has amnesia, every time she meets someone, like, oh, you're my brother, that's dope. Nice to meet you. Again, like Brand, like you're saying, like it's always nice interactions. Like, oh my gosh, I have a sister. That's so radical. Like, she's always in a good mood. It's not like, oh, I have a brother. That's so weird. Like, that's why I like her having amnesia, because it brings her down to the base of who she is, and who she is actually is a good person. That's why I really like it, because underneath all the superhero trauma, all that shit, who is she? She's a nice lady, and that's what's really nice to see.
And in the second volume of the comic book, she's just in a coma for the whole thing after the end of the first volume. And reading that was kind of what solidified me as liking the show better, just the direction of the show better than the comic, is because, like, the comic wouldn't even give Vanya a moment like this, but the show would.
You can spoil the comic for me. Don't listen, guys. Does she wake up at the end of that coma?
No.
No? That sucks. That's a bummer.
She is always just loopy, like, oh, what the...
That sucks. That's a bummer.
Yeah, it's off. The way it's drawn is also really terrible. I won't get into it, but I wasn't a fan of the Vanya stuff in the comic.
Well, but one of my favorite scenes with Vanya is her scene with Ben at the end of the show.
Yes.
Jesus, can we talk about Ben?
Yeah.
MVP of the series.
Good Lord. Yeah. No, all the memes have been talking about how 5 is the MVP. I'm thinking Ben is one of the best characters in the show.
That's cool no matter what, but like Ben gets to shine where he didn't get to shine before.
We see when Klaus first talked to Ben, right after Ben's funeral.
God.
And Ben has been with him ever since.
Lord.
And that he feels, I really like that whole idea that Klaus feels like he made Ben stay.
Yeah,
and after Ben's gone, Vanya tells him, no, he stayed out of choice.
Yeah. He stayed to be with you, to be with his family. Yeah.
And the whole like moment when he was able to go see Vanya, get her out of her torture.
Violin, essentially.
It's such a powerful moment, and it gives Vanya another brother to say goodbye to or hello to in this case.
Yeah,
that was such a good moment.
The parts when when Klaus is with everyone and Ben is in the background, and then they all go somewhere, and he's like, "Yeah, I miss you all too." But when he finally does possess Klaus and he's talking to Diego for the first time,
oh my god,
it's so freaking sweet. Because of course Diego's like, "I don't believe you," and then he tells him the joke, and they're like, "Oh my god!" And so I was like, "Please give Ben a thing with all the other."
I also just really like how Diego sees Ben when he finally realizes, like, "Oh my god, Ben!"
Yeah,
yeah, I like that moment a lot.
The possession stuff with Klaus is a nice, fun wrinkle it adds.
The effects of them pushing each other.
Like he can't stay inside, and Klaus is just like trying to like push him back. Like that effect is so awesome. It's so fun. All the stuff with the cult is just like so weird and fun. And that girl that Ben really likes, it's just like, man, this is a weird situation, but it's like it's wacky.
I love how like when Klaus is in jail and he sees the bald guy, I forget his name, but then he's like
part of his cult.
Yeah, the guy who's part of the cult, and he's like, "What wisdom?" He's like, "Don't go chasing waterfalls." I'm like, "You read," or even at the end when Ben is like,
they're Destiny's children.
Yeah,
they're the Destiny's child.
Everything about them is based off of music they've never heard.
Yeah, that killed me every time he kept quoting shit. I'm like, oh my god.
Like when Ben was spouting the Backstreet Boy lyrics, I'm like, what have I heard that before? And then you hear everybody now. I was like, oh my god, you just quote Backstreet Boys.
Man, okay, that Backstreet Boys drop
was great.
Yeah. All the music in the season, all the music,
really, really good.
My favorite, I think we talked about it before we like really started doing this, but I think our two favorite covers are the Interrupters version of Bad Guy, which is the fight scene between Five and Lila, and the Swedish version of Hello.
Yes,
the Swedes.
The Swedes. Oh, we gotta talk about the Swedes.
The Swedes were the perfect amount of menacing, but not focus pulling.
That's exactly how you do a henchman, like mini boss type character, right? And they don't even talk. Like they barely even. I don't think anyone speak except for the main guy.
The main guy.
The main guy. But like having a like scary like mini boss who's just always around, always being a threat, but also like really funny.
God, that
I've never laughed like so hard at someone's English. Like when he's crying like from Hello from the Other Side, the Swedish version of Adele, and like you're doing like a Viking funeral and like they're crying, and I'm like, this is hilarious. I'm sorry. This is killing me.
And the brutality of when he's forced to kill his brother.
Oh my god.
Oh Lord, yeah.
Like, choke him out.
Yeah.
Because he's mind controlled by Allison.
Yeah.
Those Swedes one's like a milkman. They're just funny bad guys, like good bad guys.
The second I saw the Milkman in the trailers, because I knew Gerard Way wrote the Milkman Wars. So
yes, I thought.
Is that a nod to Milkman Wars? Because that's Doom Patrol, that's DC, that's something completely different. But
I'm sure it's like a reference, maybe.
Probably.
Because that whole thing's not in the comics, so it's got to be an intentional. Like we can probably throw this in as a cute little nod.
It's a nice little thing. Let's talk about the villain of the season, the Handler.
The commissioner, the handler.
The handler.
Who's the commissioner? The handler. Yeah.
The handler from the Time Commission.
Wait, real quickly, before we do that, can we talk about the dude with the fishbowl head?
AJ?
Oh, yeah.
And how criminally underused he is. Yes.
Yeah, he was.
I love his design.
I love him
so much.
That's business Mysterio.
Okay, so smoking's bad, y'all, but I like how this fish smokes.
Yes. Yeah.
I was like, how does that, like the second he pulls out a cigarette, I'm like, how? And then he just
also,
like blows the smoke bubbles. I'm like, okay.
Also, that massacre, the Five's massacre of all those top commissioner people,
The board.
The board is awesome. That's an awesome sequence.
It's the coolest teleporting fight scene but next to Nightcrawler and X2. That's the last time anything teleporting this cool has ever been done. He's just going around killing fools left and right. This 13-year-old kid or whatever.
When the lady barges in, she's like, "You're gonna pay for that vending machine." You're like, "Screw all the dead bodies around here. 5 broke the vending machine." That's what she's mad about.
Yeah. Hey man, property's more important than people, right? So the handler, so she gets the board killed and stuff, and then she kidnaps AJ, who is the fish man, and just takes the fish and just puts it in her office.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very smart fish because he's still talking and we can't hear him, but he's able to send a message with rocks, which is just so cute and clever. And she's like, "Wow, AJ, you're still smart after all this time." And then she eats him.
Then eats him.
Yep.
Crazy.
Didn't even shoot.
Lila, also, when did you guys figure out Lila had powers?
Oh,
I don't even remember.
When
she's fighting 5.
Yeah,
when she's fighting 5 and she kept like possibly disappearing. It was then that I realized I was like, okay, she's one of them.
I didn't jump all the way to that, but I was like, okay, so something's up. Yeah. I didn't like think about it for too long.
I thought she was just a regular kid for a long time.
Same here. Like when she even with the fight with 5, when she was just like popping in and out and she wasn't like actually bamfing like 5 does. I was like, how is she doing that?
Yeah.
Is she just that good at being a commission ninja, or
her power is Skylar from Heroes?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. She's
Skylar.
Yeah.
Sylar.
What's his name? It's been like 15 years.
It's more like Peter Petrelli though.
That's fair.
Because it's not having to take them; it's just being near them and then has the power.
Like you touch them, you get it's like you touch them, you get the you just go, "Cool, I have your powers now."
Except she doesn't kill the people. Yeah. I think Lila is a fascinatingly fun character, and like what a tragic backstory. Like she was raised to be this murderer, and like she's just been basically brainwashed by her mom. That's always, these kind of stories are always sad. And Lila, she ends up being all right. I think right? Doesn't she like join the team?
No, what happens is that she's pissed at her mom because she believes them and she realizes that her mom did this, but then her mom shoots everyone.
That's right.
And then 5 takes it back in time.
That's right.
And then she shoots the hand. Someone else ends up shooting the handler.
The Swede.
And then
the surviving Swede shoots the handler.
That's right. The Swede gets revenge. Yeah.
But Lila just disappears.
Okay. But she's still alive.
Yeah.
So she can show up because I like that character.
I also really like the interaction between Hargreaves and 5 because it sets up the whole maybe you tried to go too far.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you just try a couple seconds?
A real conversation about it, yeah.
Honestly, that section when 5 does go back in time, it reminded me of the Omega 13 moment from Galaxy Quest.
Oh my god,
it's very similar.
I haven't thought about that in forever, Ben. Thank you.
I was gonna say we talked about this while we were watching it. It's a little bit confusing how time travel works because they treat it like once you've done something, it's a linear event.
It's the Bill and Ted rules.
An apocalypse happens, and that apocalypse happens, and then there is no alternate timeline. That is the timeline of events when that is set in stone.
Yes.
However, when 1963 is set as the apocalypse, they're still able to go to 1980 whatever where the board is meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And 5 is able to travel there with his ability as though he can travel past the apocalypse, which was established as something he couldn't do before.
Yeah.
Which I let go, but I'm like, that's confusing. More specifically in how 5's abilities work.
I recently retweeted a joke post about time travel and Bill and Ted. Like the best time travel rules are the funniest ones. It doesn't matter that it's real because time travel isn't real. Yeah. So like I don't think I'd care enough to try to dispute the time travel stuff. You know what I mean?
More to my point is that 5 is able to time travel around an apocalypse set.
Yeah.
Which is something that in season 1 he struggled with.
Yeah. Okay.
That he couldn't time travel around and make it where he could go to somewhere where the apocalypse didn't happen. And yet he can do it even though he saw the 1963. So that's my only point is that even though the events haven't been changed, 5 can go past it.
Okay. I'm only gonna say this. I'm gonna say this one thing.
Yeah.
What if, because they do stop the apocalypse, the future still goes regularly, so that's why he's able to go to the 80s. And all this, that's why I don't want to talk about time travel, because it's all stupid and doesn't make sense.
No, I get
but
it.
Like,
no,
that
I get
could
it.
be the reason.
I'm only comparing, like, that is weird because, again, like, that first season, that apocalypse is something he can't travel around.
Yeah.
Which is why it's a little, specifically related to his abilities, it's a little weird. I don't care what the commission can do.
No, yeah. Yeah, I feel you. I don't.
Wait, doesn't he travel? He doesn't travel in time because of his powers to 1981. I thought he had a case.
Oh, he does have a case, right? Doesn't he? Doesn't he steal it or take it from somebody?
No, he gets a case after for killing the board, but we don't see him with a case when he shows up to kill the board. He's just there. I made a note of it because this was right after Hargreaves said travel a little bit at a time.
Oh, yeah.
And then he just does his portation in, and it's like, that's not a little bit at a time.
Well, maybe there was a montage we missed.
That's like 20 years.
Yeah.
There's probably some information that we just don't need for the story.
I mean,
but I think you do have a good point about the whole, like, if the apocalypse is set in 1963, why was he able to go to 1981?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
specifically as it counters the points of how his abilities worked in season 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because when we got to that scene, I was a little confused at first as well, because I was like, but it's 1963. How can you go to the 80s because of whatever? Like Ryan said, time travel rules are dumb, and we don't have to talk about because they don't really exist. But that whole scene with him killing the board is hilarious.
Kind of would have fixed it if he had just gone to the past, 1953.
It would have fixed it if what you just said, if the handler dropped him there or something with a case.
Mm-hmm.
You're correct. I would have been like, whatever, that's how the commission works. But it's his abilities that confuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, talking about other things, Allison, related to the Vanya story, about her wanting to get the mom and the son away from the husband. There reached a certain point in the season where I was like, okay, Vanya knows her sister can tell people what to do. There's a really easy fix to this family situation right now, and I don't know why we aren't taking it.
Yeah.
And that you let your family go.
I'm like, just take Allison over and say, hey, he's cool with it, and that's the end.
Okay.
That's it.
Just real quick, I did it's Googling about the time travel stuff, and it's very much an Avengers Endgame situation where nobody can agree on anything.
Okay.
So I don't think the creators even care enough to do
for sure.
And which stinks. But like, I saw something about multiple timelines. I'm like, okay, I don't even care anymore. Never mind.
Yeah.
Never mind. I'm out.
Yeah.
I've always said,
like, what is the internet thing?
I have always said about time travel, if you don't break the internal logic of the film that you're in, you're fine. I don't think Avengers Endgame does, although a lot of people disagree with me. I do think that there could be a case that Umbrella Academy season 2 does, but it's not as egregious, and I'm willing to just wipe it under the rug. It's
tough because like just the implication is that the Commission and 5 do different types of time travel.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And I'm specifically targeting 5's type, where I'm like, that's a little weird.
They even could have,
as it's established, it's a little weird.
Could have said something like the Commission's time travel is like scientific, while yours is like, we can't explain it because you're a superhero. And that could have easily been a way of just saying like, oh, that's why you can do things we can't or something. But they don't ever say that.
Right.
Yeah.
There are other things to talk about though.
Yeah.
But yes, that's super, like, I really like the whole family story that Vanya's going through, what they're trying to do. I'm just like, can we at least discuss like Allison is doing something else, or she's somewhere else, or she isn't available like in this moment for Vanya to go do that? Because just bring her over and be like, hey man, your wife is in love with Vanya. You're cool with it. Oh, dope. The end.
I heard a rumor Vanya loves your wife. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Drama.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's talk about the handler.
Yeah.
I love her. Kate Walsh is the best.
Yeah, she was good. I'm glad that she came back to wreak vengeance.
I love just the constant reminder of the bullet hole in her head. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
She's so snarky and bitchy, and it's like actually knows what she's doing. She's a really fun antagonist. Big fan, and stuff with her and Lila. So I was like, oh man, you're just a gross bad person. Oh man.
Yeah.
Now one of the bad guys I hate the most are the ones who seem nice and always have a smile on their face.
Oh yeah.
Her the handler, Dolores Umbridge, they're all like, oh, it's fine, don't worry.
Oh, yeah,
I'm not gonna murder I mean, you have like that psychopath factor in it as well, but it's like it's toned down just enough that he's like, this person's batshit crazy, but they're a sane batshit crazy where they can still get their stuff done and wreck your shit.
So they want to hire Diego for the commission.
Lila
It's have to be a little unhinged to be in the higher ups of the commission. Just like it seems that a lot of the people they hire. Well, actually, no. Herb is his name. Herb, the little guy. Herb's a nice guy.
Yeah,
his whole team.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, there's some good commission guys.
Yeah,
I guess.
it's Lila who wants to bring Diego on the commission because she's like, no, I like this guy, and Diego's like, okay, I'm seriously rethinking our relationship here. What's going on?
I love it.
Oh, and
I want my boyfriend to be security team.
We should talk about something that I didn't know they were going to do, but I thought they might. But 5 meets his older self or his younger self.
I love that.
What a great
his younger older self.
What a great choice for the older 5. Like that dude is so good at portraying older 5. Like if you told me they were related, like I'd believe it. Like they're really good.
All the rules of paradox psychosis.
Oh my god,
they're all violating that.
Itching,
itching and farting, and he's like, "You're both suffering from it."
And in super anger, and just like, can't you see that he's going crazy?
But that fight sequence is awesome.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Again, another great teleportation fight sequence. Just the two of them like teleporting and then teleporting back and then throwing a punch.
Guys, it's a Dragon Ball Z fight. It's instant transmission.
Yeah, it's great.
Here in Luther's time, it'd just be.
Yeah,
but they end up having to push him through the portal.
Yeah.
So that 5 could still exist because if he doesn't go back, and again, changing the timeline again because now this older guy knows that this has happened.
Yes.
So I don't
timelines. I don't know.
But now it doesn't matter because the version they send him to no longer exists.
Right, because Hargreaves now
makes the Sparrow Academy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Time travel.
So they you can't think about it too long because
exactly
the show sometimes pretends that there can only be one timeline and then there's also multiple timelines, but there's one timeline.
Yes.
You can't think about that part too much. It's
whatever.
It's not important.
What is Luther doing this season? I forgot.
Well, he's a boxer first.
That's right. He's a boxer for that guy George, who's
Jack
like, me until you lose.
No,
who's a gay mafia boss.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. They had a fun relationship. I like this.
Jack Ruby, the guy who caught Lee Harvey Oswald for the feds after the assassination.
Yes. He's the guy. That's why they show him near the end with the gun, looking at the gun after Lee Harvey Oswald is captured. He is the guy who shoots him.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. I like Luther fake getting beat up, and then George gives and it's like, all right, cool, boxing mode, pow. Throwing fights. It's being a shark. It's being a shark. You guys don't do that.
Yep.
Don't be sharks, guys.
Don't be sharks. Yeah. Unless you're King Shark, he's cool.
I think
I heard he's a shark.
Yes.
All in all, I really liked this season. I thought this was a lot of fun.
I will say I'm surprised that we went back to the moment when 5 was at the Kennedy assassination, and we still don't know who he was there to shoot. Because we never find out because he leaves that mission.
Maybe that's for us to find out or something.
From the commission. And I've wondered that since season 1. I'm like, who was he supposed to shoot that day? Because Kennedy still dies.
I always kind of thought that from the first season, the implication was, I could be completely wrong, but I always kind of thought that he was there to make sure that Kennedy gets shot.
It could be that too.
It could be that too, but it's still like, it's weird to have sent him and he's all set up and everything and he leaves it, but everything still goes. It's just, I don't know,
unanswered.
And that we went back to it and still don't know because the whole moment that the season started, I knew we were right around the Kennedy assassination. I'm like, oh, so we're gonna address 5 because that's the moment 5 left.
Yeah,
we're gonna address him being at the Kennedy assassination. It's like, well, kind of.
And then a really good question to ask about the timeline thing is when the timeline is changed to Vanya. To them thinking the Soviets exploded this FBI place because of Vanya. The commission thinks that's how the timeline's supposed to go,
right?
Because they say, "Oh no, Kennedy doesn't get shot. The commission, the FBI control gets destroyed by the Kennedys,
right?
By the Soviets." And that's so the commission, if they're supposed to keep the timeline intact, why didn't they know that the timeline was changed?
And why aren't they controlling it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have an answer, but didn't the commission say something like the way that they patrol the timeline is like, or maybe this was a comic I just read, shit, but there's something where like the timeline, like they like the timeline can have little ripples of messing up, but it's the big moments that have to stay the same.
Yes.
So maybe.
But that's the kind of Brandon's point is that like in the first season, everything has to stay a certain way.
Yeah.
And so that's why that apocalypse with Vanya in their mind is supposed to happen, has to happen. But now the apocalypse has moved to 1963 and the entire commission goes, yeah, that's always supposed to happen. And it's like, wait, what?
Well, because
Diego's
I can't talk about time travel.
You see what I mean?
Yes,
I mean,
do.
like
I do.
it's these things where like
you can't look at it too much.
You can't look at it too much. Those are time travel things, and like it doesn't. But it's also like it's a really prominent part of the show, so we kind of have to address.
No, I agree.
Like some of these rules are a little wonky, and you're totally right, Brandon. That like it doesn't. It's not. There's not even a moment or a hint of her being like, "Wait a minute."
Yeah, like wait, that's not
right.
This isn't right.
Because up to that point, I agree with you. I just assumed. My assumption was that the commission wasn't getting involved because the commission didn't really know because the commission was in disarray.
Right.
So like they weren't paying attention. They didn't have their eyes on the ball.
Yeah. But it's Herb. But it's Herb who says, "Oh yeah, no, the apocalypse is supposed to happen after the."
Right.
So there's this article on this website called Refinery. But the last paragraph is like, what's the key to following the timeline? After spending hours trying to iron this out, looking like Charlie Kelly from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia with a crime board, I've come to what I believe is the only solution for trying to follow the timeline of the Umbrella Academy. Don't. Because they wrote an entire article like, wait, but this does this and this is this basically what we're doing. And it's like, don't worry about it. It will make it worse. I'm like, yeah, you're right.
I think the simplest way that I could try to explain all those things real fast is that when they go back to an already alternate timeline.
That's what that's what I have to assume. Every time they time travel, it's an alternate world, and somehow they get back to but they don't get back to the regular one.
No, they proceed forward in this alternate timeline.
Yes,
because the commission travels on a linear loop.
Yes,
but 5 doesn't, and 5 travels to an alternate timeline. So 5's thing at the end of season 1 sends them back in time to an actual alternate existence.
That makes sense to me.
And when they go forward because of the commission cases, they're actually going forward in the alternate timeline, not into their original timeline.
That makes sense to me now.
It's Back to the Future rules then.
Right. So in this version, the commission is different and has always believed that it would be 1963.
Guys, but the smart Hulk told me that Back to the Future is bullshit.
Now,
every franchise has different time travel rules.
Now, the only part about that gets hard to swallow is that I assumed the commission operates outside of time.
Yes.
So they should just be one entity regardless of timeline. But that doesn't work with what I just said. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the end.
We
haven't touched on it yet.
Before we talk about the very end, let me just run through some notes through the season in case there's anything else we want to talk about in the things I have to say. The reunion between Allison and Klaus when they find out that they're both there, and she goes and finds him at his mansion, and she dives into the pool, and they hug each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Really sweet.
Yes,
that was also a really solid moment, just as good as the Luther and Vanya stuff when they reconnect. Really good reveal of Lila's flashback when we find out her history with the handler. I thought that was well done.
Oh yeah, we find out 5 is the one who shot up all those people.
Yeah. Rough story for Klaus with inadvertently forcing his love interest Dave into the war.
David, that sweet little kid. Oh man. Yeah, the stuff with Klaus, man. That guy. Again, Robert Sheehan, the first thing I saw him on was in The Purge Season 1. Brandon, you remember he was a bad guy in The Purge Season 1. He was the jerk boyfriend. Yeah, he was the jerk boyfriend who tried to kill that girl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's the first time I saw him, and now he's like blowing up and he's everywhere. I'm like, dude, this guy's so talented. Oh my God.
Wow.
I really love when they do moments like Allison and Luther when they reunite and they hug, and there's a shot when they're hugging where everyone else disappears. And it's just for them.
It's like where he's like sitting on a bench or something?
He was, and then he gets up to hug her, and everybody at the barbecue around them disappears.
That's so cute, yeah.
Oh, and they're talking at the barbecue place, and they're just like, have you seen Klaus? He started a cult.
Oh, yeah, that sounds about right.
a part later where we get a recap of Luther's life after he landed, and I thought that whole section was really well done when he's screaming in the rain next to the homeless guy, and then everything that falls through with that
homeless guy.
Just everything with the story of Vanya and Sissy is really well done.
Yeah, it is.
I agree. I like that stuff a lot.
Mention Harlan or the little kid has special powers or any of that stuff, man.
Yeah, how he gets the abilities from Vanya. We're covering a whole season.
No, I know, but like just real quick, the implication that Vanya can give people powers, is that the implication here, or Harlan is special? What's the implication?
I think she gave gave him the powers.
Okay, because at the end, that dude has telekinesis like that. He's lifting spoons like Neo.
Yeah.
So
if we are to accept that the only people who have powers were the people born in 1989, were the 43 kids born in 1989, then it is impossible that he is going to have powers unless he is given them.
Yeah, and I bet
alternate timeline.
I bet that kid. Because we're in this alternate timeline, I bet that kid shows up in the future as an old.
That he's the Sparrow Cat.
Well, she does take the powers away from him at the end.
No, but
he still has them when he's sitting in the car.
You're right. He's floating the little bird. I forgot about that.
He might have less power, but he still has power.
You're right. He can still float the bird. I forgot about that.
Allison's recap story from when she drops in to running to the barbershop. All of that is also
everyone
super
gives
great.
her a look. And
yeah. I really love the whole moment when Klaus tries to admit to the cult that he's a fraud.
Oh god!
And they're all just like, I am also a fraud. We're all fraud.
It instantly turned into an I am Spartacus moment when they're like, I am a fraud. I'm a fraud. And Klaus is like, oh my god, you idiots.
And I like he goes to Ben and he's like, I tried.
When Allison goes back into the diner and makes the man keep pouring coffee on himself.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The Light Supper with Hargreaves is great.
That actor, I gotta look that actor up because I'm not super familiar with his work, but he has such like a presence that like very few actors give. Are like, I am an asshole, and I'm like, yeah. Like he's so good at it.
I do want to talk about, because we haven't talked about him at all, and I'm not surprised he hasn't come up. I want to talk about Elliot.
Elliot,
Elliot.
Elliot, I feel was a missed opportunity in the season. I think the only standout moment I really like that like I connect with him at all about is when he and Luther get high on the dental drugs.
Oh, that's
but
really
past
funny.
that, I don't think Elliot is given opportunity to be an emotional like bystander. He's helpful, but he's not present.
I feel
and then they kill him, and I'm like, this sucks, but I wish I felt something.
Yeah, I agree. The problem, I think the character is fun and cool, but I feel like they kill him and then like they don't give him the proper goodbye. Right. And they also just ignored the rest of the season. Like he had any help at all. It was like he was there just to be there. And they didn't really like, he's like
just to give them a base of operation.
Yeah, like he's like the one of the characters that wasn't really fleshed out. And that's kind of a bummer because I like that guy.
Because he could have been I loved the setup of him. This idea of a guy who had been capturing this phenomena outside his building.
Yeah.
And he became obsessed with it. And then he could just be like following different members of them everywhere they go, like picking up on things, trying to help, like just being real friendly and all that. And I'm like, I would have, if he had been present, I would have cared a lot more when the Swedes kill him.
I agree.
So Reginald,
I feel like they just didn't invest in him.
Because
go ahead.
So Reginald was in Chronicles of Riddick. Fun fact. But he is probably most known to us as King Laufey from Thor.
Oh, look at that! Good job, buddy.
Yeah.
Damn.
But yeah, I just feel like Elliot was wasted space.
No, there's this other scene I want to touch on really quick. It was when Diego and Luther, after they discover Elliot in the chair dead, and then look over Olga Faruga, and then they look up the lady Olga.
Oh yeah.
And Diego's like, "You killed one of our own," and then finally like, "Guys, it's Swedish," and he just goes, "Have a nice day."
Which is very funny. But it really solidifies Ryan's point. That's pretty much the last time they do anything for Elliot. That's the last time they really care about Elliot. And it's even in comedy, like Elliot's just not allowed to actually be a present character. And I felt like that was a shame.
I agree that it does take away from Elliot, but I do think
it's a very
Diego and Luther super detectives, and they're just both so stupid. Like it's like Zoolander. It's like Zoolander. They're trying to solve a crime. Like they're in the computer.
in a version of the season where Elliot had been given his due and they still did that moment, I
Yeah.
wouldn't feel like it was callous.
Yes.
I would feel like it's still like making light of the shitty
Because it happened so
because
quickly.
you would be sad before that,
I agree.
but you're just not really allowed that moment to feel that way.
Elliot.
Yeah, the use of Elliot kind of bummed me out a lot.
I like we talked about it a little bit. Herb, the nice little commission guy. He becomes like the new leader.
Yeah,
Good job, Herb. He's the best.
Oh, when Vanya is being interrogated and they're convinced she's a Russian spy because of her name, and she fucks up and speaks Russian.
Oh my god, that's such a good moment. Oh my god.
Which she didn't even know she could do, and it's like, oh, this is really bad.
Yeah, that's
Wasn't she born in Russia though?
No, she was taught Russian by Hargreaves.
Okay.
Yeah.
They all were. They all know Russian. They all know multiple
Yeah,
languages.
It's so funny, like she has amnesia, but she knows her name, and then she starts speaking Russian. I'm like, Vanya, like all the signs
Like
are
the
pointing.
second she spoke, I'm like, oh, you done goofed, woman. You done goofed.
Yeah, that ending stuff with Vanya is so good. It's so good, especially again with Ben. And like being able to say goodbye to your brother when you didn't get to before. And it also like saves the day,
right?
And like the hug as he's disappearing, that is so good.
So the whole moment after that, that comes later, where Vanya is sitting in the car and Klaus gets in and they talk about Ben. That being the moment when Vanya knows she has to go to Harlan to Sissy, and the family's like, no, we have to do this thing, and she's like, whatever. And then slowly members of the family get in the car and they're all going together. Such a moment. Such a good, like, no, we're not doing season 1. We're not doing that no more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then Luther gets in the back and the car.
He's like, any of you make a fat joke?
Yeah. Again, wholesome family stuff. I'm so glad it was in the season.
Me too. And one last note I'll talk about is just I want to give praise to the actress who played Sissy. I thought she did a really good job. I really like the moment where Sissy stands up to Carl with the gun outside the car, which leads to Carl's death. I thought that whole moment was really, really well done.
And it's again, like Brendan, I know you said you like that stuff too. Like that stuff is so good between Sissy and Vanya, and like this is a like middle-aged housewife in the 1960s. Like she's not in the best spot as a woman, right? And like the fact that like she found like maybe the love of her life in this relationship that she's not happy in, and she's like, Vanya, I'm not allowed to have this. Like this isn't what's supposed to happen for people like us. And I'm like, oh my god, it's so sad. It's so sad.
Kind of tying in from that, leading into the ending that we want to talk about. I really wish the show had the balls to break with what is kind of a trope of like certain things just can't change that much, and let Sissy and Harlan go with them.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, Sissy has no reason. There's no good reason for Sissy to stay when she knows she can go to a different time period with Vanya. It doesn't make any sense. She can go somewhere where she's more accepted. Like that's a fact. It doesn't jive with me. I'm like, I don't understand why anyone in the position that they've built sissies to be across this whole season would be, no, I have to stay.
I guess the only thing that I can think of is like the Spider-Man Mary Jane thing, where like I can't be with you because like it's too dangerous.
That's the argument that they choose.
That's the only argument.
I'm like, because you're not going to be in any danger just staying where you are with his stupid sheriff brother and all that. Like it like that's not going to go badly.
As if you didn't just go through a bunch of trauma for trying to just live your life.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
I agree. Like in like the realistic, like I get why a mom wouldn't want to go to the future. Like that's weird, but like in this story, like there's literally no reason why she can't live the happiest life.
They just spent too much time convincing me that there's no good reason for her to stay.
Yeah.
I guess they were just like, you know what? I really don't want to try to write this 1960s character in 2019. Let's just not do that. Like, I could see that, I guess.
So the ending, everyone goes to Harlan. Everyone's with Harlan, trying to save him. And the commission has brought everyone.
Like hundreds of time travelers.
Oh, yeah.
To attack this thing.
Wear masks and stuff. It's cool.
And they all get wiped out very quickly.
Yeah.
Except for...
How do they die again? I don't remember.
God, I don't remember.
Vanya? Is it Vanya?
Oh, it is Vanya. Vanya does the...
So it is not clear if they die or not.
Okay.
Vanya sends out a wave and they just all fall down, and it is never established if they're dead or unconscious.
I'm assuming those fools are dead. That's just what I assume.
But it's not clear. It's not established.
Yeah.
So it's whatever. And then but
here's the thing. It's Batman rules. Batman can beat a guy to a pulp, but as long as you tell me he's alive, I'll buy it.
Bro, as somebody who's playing Arkham Knight right now, and dudes are getting like murdered, hearing Oracle go, he'll be all right. I'm like, okay, Barbara.
Here's the thing. No, people get flown by the.
Yeah, anybody can survive anything.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah. Yeah, that ending where all the time travelers show up and then they're all swiped out, and it's like, you need a briefcase.
Take one.
Anyone you want.
I just love how Five is like, yeah, we need a case, and they just walk out, and Herb is like,
the fight with Lila is really good. How she mimics all their powers, even rumors.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you do a X-Men Origins Wolverine Deadpool fight, because like she's a super Skrull, she has all the powers, but it's uninteresting, and she's not like she's overpowered. She's super powerful, but not overpowerful. Like they can still beat her, but I was like, oh, I remember they did this before, and it wasn't as good.
I legit thought that Allison was going to die.
No, they can't beat her. They have to convince her that she's been abducted by the handler. That's the only way to stop her. That she's one of them.
So she is overpowered, but like in like the way that, of course, she would be.
Yeah, there's no clear line on like if she, because the way I thought her power worked at first is that she's countering whoever she's facing.
Yes.
But then later she's using like one of the other powers against someone who she's not facing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. I guess she just uses whatever powers are in her proximity.
Because I remember when they were trying to figure out how to be here, they're like, okay, so she can only use one power at a time. So they're trying to get her at a spot where they can like essentially beat her or something.
There's a superhero who has like 1 million powers that can only use one at a time. Oh,
Legion.
No, or like more like a physical one. I'll remember later.
But so
Ben 10. You're thinking of Ben 10.
There you go. Yeah.
The moment when Rumor has her and she says, "I heard a rumor," and then she says that you couldn't breathe.
Yeah,
that was a good moment.
I for sure thought Rumor was going to die.
Yeah.
No, I was like, don't do this. God damn it! Not to Allison, not again.
Luther, who's like, you can beat. Is it Luther who tries to break through?
Yeah. And then she beats the crap out of Luther, and the house is breaking. But yeah, you're right. The only way they can beat her is by explaining that, So one of the things that I didn't realize was that Hargreaves never told the kids that there were other superpowered kids out there. Because in the beginning of season 1, we are told that 43 children were born, but Hargreaves only found 5.
Or he only collected 7.
He only collected 7. He didn't collect all 43. I'm sure he tried, but
I'm sure.
But Lila is one of those 43 children, and they didn't know. They thought they were the only ones.
Yeah.
So it's very hard for them to buy that. Like, they have to go through like, well, he lied to us a lot. What if he lied to us about there being more people like us out there?
And now we can just have more brother-sister relationships.
And that's where the Sparrow Academy comes in, because he found a different 7.
Yeah. I'm very excited. I'm all about alternate realities and like, different versions of stuff. And like, man, we see dope ass like anime Ben. Ben is now in anime mode. He's got a cool scar and got cool hair. And I'm like, oh, Ben could be sick next season. I'm so stoked whenever that season happens.
That actor who plays Ben is coming back again, because as he was fading away, I was like legit sad because I love his character. I was like,
I would be sad if he was gone.
I mean, that character's dead. So you get the actor back, but you're not getting that character. He's dead.
But the actor's coming back. I really enjoy. Let me rephrase. I really enjoy that actor. So
I got the same vibe when they get there and all the silhouettes show up on the balcony as the post credits of Guardians 2, where you get the Stallone and the original Guardians, and it's like, oh, this is like the different team, and like. But we'll actually see this team. But
have hope. We'll see them eventually.
Huh?
We'll see them eventually. Have hope.
Yeah, maybe.
Let's go steal some shit.
Yeah.
I like the whole lot.
That's I think that's pretty well fleshed out of the whole season.
Yeah.
I have optimistic hopes for season 3. I'm certainly intrigued by the premise.
I'm very intrigued by the premise.
These guys are having a really, really shitty week and a half.
They are.
Yeah, it's happening. Yeah,
Like, sorry, no, that's not true. Because some of them did have
Years.
a break. 5 in particular is having a really tiring, shitty week and a half.
Because didn't he also just like get back from the future? And
He gets back
all
from the future and
season
stops the
one-
apocalypse, and then he drops into a new apocalypse, and then he stops that apocalypse and he takes them into the future, and now there's this.
So that's like 42 years of shit. That poor kid. I understand why he's a jerk. I get it.
Now
Yeah.
I have a question about the first season. In the first season, it is revealed that Hargreaves faked his own, well, not faked his own death, but killed himself to get them together. Is that ever explained why?
I don't remember. If it's explained in season 1, I definitely don't remember.
I don't remember.
Because he is talking to Klaus in his little barber thing. He's like, I killed myself to do, and then Klaus wakes up from death, and so I that's how I remember it. So I don't know if it's ever explained why Hargreaves did that. Why Hargreaves? And I thought the explanation would be in the season, but it wasn't, and I could have just missed it from the first season. But
I want to say that Klaus came because when they're all together and Klaus tells them that he was able to conjure his dad, that he killed himself so they could all get together to stop the apocalypse, which is Vanya. But they really don't dive into that more because Hargreave fades out before he could tell them like the really important part, and then we get the apocalypse, and then we get them back into the 1960s.
right,
And I feel like they kind of dropped it, and they won't bring it back up again.
right, Ryan, did you have the answer?
I think I got something. Because Hargreaves knew that the apocalypse was impending, and that's why he got the 7 together, or got the Umbrella Academy together to stop it. But it says here, if Hargreaves hadn't tried to stop the apocalypse, it never would have happened. So Hargreaves himself is like the reason the apocalypse happened. I think he killed himself to try to stop the apocalypse that he himself caused. But
Okay.
that's not fully explained in the show. But that sounds right to me.
Yeah,
Like he
It
tried to
sounds-
save the world, he failed.
it narratively sounds correct, but it's never explicitly said that in the show,
Yeah.
which is
It's
a
not,
little frustrating. But I don't mind. It's a good season.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's like a season 3 reveal or something. Like
Mhm.
I killed myself to save the world from the world that I made the apocalypse happen in, because he is the reason, which is interesting.
Yeah.
He's the one who gets the academy together. That's kind of fun. It's like a Ouroboros eating its own tail thing.
Okay, so that'll do it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's well covered.
Heck yeah!
All right. So that was Umbrella Academy Season 2. Stay tuned for Season 3 whenever they're able to film that. Until then, there's plenty more Fake Nerds Watch coming. We are currently doing Lovecraft Country. There are 2 episodes out now. Third one is up soon if you're listening to this, if you're watching this. That show's great, so check out our after show if you're watching that. And if you're not watching Lovecraft Country, watch Lovecraft Country.
You should.
We also have we're potentially going to do something with The Boys. We haven't decided what yet with the release schedule for The Boys, so we'll see. And we also have other shows on this channel: Basement Arcade, Fake Nerd Book Club, which we are doing Power Rangers right now. This next episode of that run is coming out soon. Basement Arcade, we just did the Avengers beta, single player, multiplayer.
That game comes out in a week.
More Basement Arcade stuff coming soon, I'm sure. That's it on this channel, and then we have our Fake Nerd podcast series. We've been doing Quarantine Cast for as long as this quarantine's been going on, because we all live in LA and it's going like hell.
Literally.
So we've been doing live shows on that. So check out our live shows on Sunday if you like what we're doing here. This week we're talking about Bill and Ted, and we'll also have an episode on New Mutants. Finally, guys, New Mutants is coming.
Yeah, sure is, Brandon.
You know what? Years ago we knew it wasn't going to be good. We just wanted to see it.
Brandon, didn't we?
I didn't know that.
Brandon, didn't we already review it?
You're right. Right now you can see our quarantine reviews on this channel. Actually, they are on this channel on their own now, away from their episodes, of New Mutants, of Mulan, of No Time to Die, of
A Quiet Place Part 2.
A Quiet Place Part 2.
Definite real reviews of all those movies that didn't come out.
100%
Definitely.
revised.
Yep.
100%. Anyway, so check out all those stuff. So a lot of cool content coming, a lot of cool content already on here. Until then, you can find us on FakeNerdPodcast.com. You can find everything we're at. We got Fake Nerd Podcast masks. We got Fake Nerd Podcast t-shirts. We got tons of cool stuff. All at FakeNerdPodcast.com or the links in the description below. I'm sure they're there. Then you can find us on Fake Nerd Podcast on all social media. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You can find me on BT McClure on Instagram and Twitter. You can find Ben.
BenMaga27 on Instagram and Twitter.
Sparkz.
You can find me talking about Power Rangers at Sparkz Witty on Instagram and Twitter. SPARK Witty.
Do you talk about Power Rangers on your Twitter? Huh? Do you?
I don't do any of the things I say I do on there.
You can find me not talking about Power Rangers on Twitter at DJ Tony Snark.
All right, guys. Until next time, make sure to like and subscribe this video, subscribe to this channel, rate and review on all the podcast channels where you can find us. Until next week, guys. Until next time, stay fake nerds.